Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, witnesses, for finally coming. I'm going to start off with a general comment to both Bell and Rogers. You operate businesses that are privileged. You operate on airwaves granted to you and owned by Canadian taxpayers. You are protected by the Canadian government. In exchange for that, we expect a little bit of responsibility, not the least of which is to show up to committee when asked to come. Mr. Steffieri, you had 5 weeks. You had 5 weeks' notice to come to this committee, yet you chose in a few hours, a day or two beforehand, to not come. I would have expected after all of this, I would have seen you here in person today. Why aren't you here in person?
Sir, I could not attend the previous meeting. I had a personal matter arise that I was not expecting. I'm pleased to be here today and connect to you virtually, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay, well, that wasn't an answer. Hope my next ones will get an answer. How about this? You put in the fine print of a fixed rate contract to your customers that you have unlimited ability to jack the prices up on the set-top boxes they have, obviously without any notice because they signed it in some 20-page small print contract. Why did you feel the need, given the fact that in the first 9 months, your $5.8 billion of cable revenue produced almost $3.4 billion of gross profit, the need to jack up by $7 a box and hide it and slip it under the door with Canadians?
Very clear and transparent with our contracts as to what's included and what isn't. Our term commitments are on base TV services, and we make it clear. There are other items that are add-ons, and the customer has the discretion to include them or not. And we try to be very clear and transparent, not only in our contracts, but in our frontline agents that have the conversations with customers. So we're very clear on that. But more importantly, customers have choice. The technologies evolve so that if they don't want the set-top box, they can view the content through the TV app. I should say that the vast majority of our Ignite TV customers are not impacted by this price change. The first box is included in the base TV package, and the customer has a choice as to whether they want the premium features and experiences that the additional boxes provide.
Just to show up on the bill out of the blue, and when customers start screaming at your customer no service center, they say, too bad, it's in the fine print. That's a great customer satisfaction thing. I'd like to know why you think that's okay, and how many other buried costs do you have in the contract that you can jack up and rip Canadians off on? Are not fun.
As I said, we're very clear on what's included and not included. And as we go
list,
through...
Please. Give me a list of the things that aren't included that you can jack up without a single notice to the customer outside of the fixed rate contract. Please give me a list.
There are price adjustments that happen on services outside of the term commitment contract. Brett Leach is here with us today and can walk through some of the specific examples of additional add-on features that the customers have choice to.
You table that with the committee, please.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate the opportunity.
You can table that with the committee because I have limited time. I've got to move on to my next questions. Mr. Leach, can you table that with the committee?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Bell. I see they lawyered up and didn't send anyone here that delivers a business, but sent the lawyer. Can you please tell me how many things you have buried in your contracts that you can jack up on fixed rate contracts? Do you do the same as Bell or as Rogers?
We have a different practice from Rogers. Our contracts for TV services are not fixed rate contracts, and we disclose very clearly to the customer that they're not. But with respect to set-top boxes specifically, we haven't increased the price of our additional set-top boxes at all in the last 5 years. And in the 5 years prior to that, it increased once by $1.
Thank you. Mr. Staffieri, you just sold your backhaul as an equity sale, the wires that connect the towers to the rest of the system when you make a cell phone call. You just sold that for $7 billion to a U.S. firm. Why is that in compliance with the ownership limits under the Telecommunications Act? And why is it you use that to pay off the debt you generated by buying more shares in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment?
We are always looking from a balance sheet perspective to have the most cost-effective structure so that we can continue to invest in the networks. We're a proud Canadian company. I said that in my opening remarks.
Proud. Why did you sell that critical infrastructure asset to an American hedge fund?
Well, we haven't closed that transaction yet. We announced our intent to enter into that transaction. And so the party is still undisclosed. But what I will tell you, that's an asset that under the structure, we will continue to manage and control.
Won't own it.
So
you won't own it. And the Telecommunications Act does not allow foreign ownership over 20%. Why are you selling that critical telecommunications infrastructure other than the fact that you ran up too much debt in your other businesses? So now you're selling off the kitchen table in order to pay for the bad debts that you ran up in the other parts of your business. This is incredible that you would sell such a critical piece of infrastructure to an American hedge firm. And I, quite frankly, can't see that it is actually within the laws of Canada.
We are very careful in the investments and financing transactions that we enter into. And we obviously comply with all the legislation and laws of this country, first and foremost. But you should know that we are entering into that transaction with a view to increasing the amount of investments that we continue to make in infrastructure and jobs in this nation.
That's not what you said publicly. You said you're using the funds to pay off your debt, to reduce your debt to equity ratio. You're selling your Canadian assets to pay off your debt. One of those debts is you paid $4.7 billion for more shares in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Now you're using the sale of telecommunications assets to pay off that debt. That's not focused and proud Canadian. That's selling our infrastructure to the U.S.
Okay, that's all the time you had, Mr. Perkins. Thank you. I'll now.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Staffieri, if I was a potential Rogers customer and let's say you're a sales rep for Rogers, and I called in and I was looking for a contract that guaranteed a price for 2 years for TV and internet service, what would your pitch to me be?
Well, a few things. One is we highlight the benefits and the competitive advantage of our features, the value proposition in terms of price, and the key conditions and terms. Brett can walk through what some of those key items are that we cover
I
off with
don't
the
want
customer.
Brett. I want you. Would you proactively tell me that if I had hardware that fee could go up outside of a guaranteed price? Would you proactively tell me that?
We're very clear with customers.
Oh, no. Would you as a sales rep in your script, would you proactively tell me that my monthly fee that guaranteed set rate would not include potential increases to rentals? Like, would you as the sales rep, would you be like, hey, you know what? This is a monthly rate for this, but this could increase. Would that be in your sales rep script?
We're very clear on what's included in the term commitment that a customer enters into and what is outside of it. And the things outside of it don't have the price guarantee.
So now I'm still pretending to be one of your customers here. So you're doing what I think right now, what you're doing to me is I think what you're doing to your clients, where you try to dance around the salient details. So I'm asking you as a potential client, let's say, would you proactively tell me that there's a guaranteed price for this thing, but this could the hardware could increase? Is that something you instruct your sales reps to do?
We make it very clear, and that is part of the communication that we have.
I'll take that as a no. Did any of your GR firms give you that advise you? Did they tell you to say that you were coming to the committee and then sub in Mr. Leach at the last minute? Was that advice that you received from any sort of professional firm?
I'm very respectful of this nation's government and the work of this committee as well as part of that. As I said in my opening remarks.
Well, you actually, arguably, you're not answering my questions. Would you table the script that the sales rep who sold Kathy Cooper her contract with this committee? That they used?
Yes, our frontline scripts is something that we can
Would that conversation have been?
Committee.
Would that conversation have been recorded for quality assurance and training purposes?
We do record our customer interactions.
Would you provide that conversation that your sales rep had with Kathy Cooper for this committee?
We will table that with this committee.
Thank you. Now, as part of the CBC expose on this issue, a couple of folks have suggested that you need a minimum of a university degree education to read the fine print in your contracts. Now, given that I'm going to take your answer is that you do not provide proactive disclosure to potential clients on increases in fees, because you didn't answer my question directly. I'm happy for you to refute that, but I'm going to say that your policy is to not proactively disclose that information. It sounds like you rely on the fine print. And now you've got experts saying you need a university degree to understand the fine print. Would you recommend that the committee recommend to the government that the CRTC regulate that Rogers proactively discloses, and Bell, all telcos, potential increases in costs associated with fixed rate contracts, as well as the requirement for plain language contracts?
Legislation and regulatory environment is clear and mandates a minimum level of disclosure that has to happen today in terms of what is included, what is excluded, and what is subject to potential price adjustments.
There's no plain language requirement. Is that something that you would recommend? I mean, like if you're clear about this, right? Like if you say that you provide clear advice, would you support? Would Rogers issue a press release saying that it would happily issue contracts in plain language?
We do that today. We aim and strive to communicate in very simple language. It's in our interest.
Would you table with the committee of course, with personal details redacted, the contract that you made Kathy Cooper sign so that we can evaluate whether or not we think it's in plain language or not? Would you be willing to do that?
We'd be happy to do that.
And if I reviewed that contract myself, do you think I would be able to, would I find, do you think it's reasonable for me to say that it's a plain language contract?
I think you would find it straightforward, but more importantly, if there were pieces of it that you didn't understand or you found confusing, as I said, we have a 10-day period.
How long did Kathy Cooper have to wait on hold with your rep? Could you table that with committee as well to get answers to her questions?
We will table that and provide it to the committee.
Thank you. And last thing, is this how Ted Rogers would have done business? Like, honestly, is this the ethos that Ted Rogers would have done business under?
It's in Rogers' DNA. Always has been. It continues to be today.
What is
build
to provide complicated contracts?
It's focused on the customer.
High fees?
And there's a reason more Canadians choose to do business with Rogers than any other telecom provider.
I think I can hear Ted Rogers screaming from somewhere. So hopefully we'll be able to do him justice if you can't. Thank you.
Merci, Madame Rempel-Garner. MP Turnbull, the floor is